Welcome everyone, it's Glacier Guy, rocking Glacier as always. It's been a little bit. I have moved my office, but that's not what we're here for. We're here for a Gargos Vicious Watcher Commander deck tech, and then there's going to be at least one multiplayer game following this. Alright, what do we got? Legendary Creature Hydra is a 8/7 for 6 mana. Let that sink in. Also, it's got Vigilance, it's awesome, and Hydra spells you cast cost 4 less to cast. That also counts towards X spells. So if you have an X spell, it's whatever the green X. There's already 4 on that if it's a Hydra. So that's pretty awesome. And then whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, Gargos Vicious Watcher fights up to one target creature you don't control. Now you gotta be careful with that because it does stack in phases. I believe it's over the course of a turn. So if you fight too many things, you could kill Gargos. So just be careful about that. But what is the idea behind this deck? Well, this deck is, first and foremost, a Hydra tribal version of this deck. There are other versions of this deck, but the one you're going to be seeing here today and in the gameplay is a Hydra tribal deck. So hopefully you enjoy that. Yeah, let's get into what's in the 99. As far as what's in the land package, we got 36 lands. That's my average. You know, some decks could probably use more, so just tweak as you go. We have Castle Gartenbrig, which is pretty cool. You can pay 4, tap, add 6 green, spend this only to cast creature spells or activate abilities of creatures. That's good. We got a lot of creatures in the deck. We have 32 creatures, and we definitely like a lot of lands. We got Gaea's Cradle because we do have quite a few creatures in here, and there's no reason not to. Mossboard Bridge because we're going to have some stuff that's at least greater, 10 power or greater is the goal. We got Nycthro, Shrine of Nyx because we're a mono green deck, so always need that devotion. Path of Ancestry because we're playing a travel deck. Pretty good. Then we got Reliquary Tower, because we do get to a point where we might want to hold back on some of our spells, and having no maximum hand size is useful, although I haven't gotten to the point, really, where I've had to discard more than maybe 1 or 2 cards, so it's just there for incidental value. Rogue's Passage, which actually comes in clutch for some of the Hydras, really good if we're not blocked. Scrying Sheets, because we're going to be using a lot of Snowlands. And then look at the top of your library. If the card's a Snowland, you may reveal it and put it in your hands. Just because we want some extra value. And then a whole bunch, I think it's 30 or 32 Snow Forest. So we're good there. And then we got a Strip Mine for, just there's a couple times when you want to Strip Mine your deck. And Yavimala Hollow so we can regenerate some Hydras. So that's the land package, that's 36 lands. And you can swap out Snow-Covered Forest to regular forest if you're not playing extraplanar lens, or if you just want to, if you don't have Snow Forest. All right, so let's get into the cards. When we do CMC order here on the channel, so we go Hardened Scales. If 1 or more plus or minus 1 counter would be put on a creature control, that many plus another 1 that gets put instead, so that's good to go. Llanowar Elves, because we need some mana ramp. So a basic average deck tech should have, or a well-rounded commander deck should have 10 mana ramp, 10 card draw spells, 5 single target removal, and 5 board wipes. Now, in mono green, we're really lacking on board wipes, so I was able to offset board wipes. I was able to take those 5 and kind of roll them into some of the other things to try to help beat this deck up to get a little faster. My biggest concern was this deck was too slow, but I played at least twice with it, and I haven't had any real issues with speed. I didn't feel like I was just waiting for mana. On the Gruul version, I felt like I was constantly waiting for mana. Soul Ring, because it's a commander deck, why not put Soul Ring in it? And then we got Heroic Intervention. There are times when you definitely want to save your board, and so Heroic Intervention is really good for saving your board. It's also really good for swinging it if you you want to be indestructible. Sylvan Library, because I needed some card draw. I really wanted some efficient card draw, and Sylvan Library is cream of the crop. Well, it's probably not the best card draw in the entire world, but it's pretty good for 2 mana. Emerald Diamond. Emerald Diamond's a little pricey at the moment. It's over $4 on MTGO Traders, but it's definitely worth it. I actually got, it was like 2 cents off with the foil version, but hey, green spells are 1 less, so we got some ramp there. Now, Arcogenesis is not required. There's nothing really synergistic with the Hydras in this deck, and the X, it has nothing to do with casting X spells or anything. So basically, I was on the receiving end of massive value, wave of creatures just came and killed me. And so I was like, you know what, I should put Fog in my deck. And I almost just put straight Fog in the deck, which is not a bad idea. But I was going through. I was like, wait a minute, I have Arcogenesis, and the idea of like someone attacking me for 40 creatures, and then me, because it was like a Village Bellringer, Kiki Jiki Infinite combo where they attacked with like 48 of them. I was like, man, I had enough lands. I could have, if I had Arcogenesis, I could have made that many spiders and then swung in the next turn. That would have been funny because he was all tapped out at that point in time. But then again, he could have like untapped Kiki Jiki. There were ways he would have survived. But I just thought it would have been funny to put a fog effect, and so I decided that at least in any decks that I have green with, I'm going to try to put at least Arcogenesis in every green deck. That's just me. You don't have to do that. You can leave out a fog effect if you don't want to, or put it in. It's fun. There are plenty of different fog effects, but I like Arcogenesis. It's pretty good. Then we got Beast Within for single target removal, because you definitely want to get that single target removal. Cultivate for ramp. Elemental Bonds for card draw. Evolutionary Sage for now. This is basically, we proliferate +1/+1 counters here. There are some planeswalkers in the deck, so proliferate does help there. So those are good. Then we got Hydrous Growth. Now, Hydrous Growth is surprisingly really awesome, actually. You put it on a creature, it gets 1/1 counter, and every turn, it just Primordial Hydras just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I've only had this last like one turn because my opponent killed the creature it was on, but hey, it was pretty good. Draw a card for each creature you control with +1/+1 counter on it. These creatures gain indestructible, so Inspiring Call, it's good to go. It's both card draw and value at the same time, so I don't see anything wrong with it. Corroson's Grip, got some ramp. Or no, Kodama's Reach, ramp. Corroson's Grip, removal. Apologies. Mandragora Hydra. Oh man, I had just played against, like a little bit before here, I just played against a deck. I played my Mandragora Hydra, he was 1/1. And then he was like, by the time it came back around to me, my Mandragora Hydra was like a 7/7 by the time it came back around. And then my opponent stole it. He took it off. He took control of it. I was playing against a mono green control deck, or not like copy deck, where it's like copy and steal creatures deck. And he kept stealing all my Hydras, and he just killed me with my Hydras. But yeah, anyways, Mandragora Hydra is good, especially in Commander. It's great. Scourge of Skola Vale. So this one's kind of lower on the end of the Hydra package. It's not bad. It is still a Hydra, so it's 3 mana. Enters the battlefield with 2 1/1 counters. Sacrifice another creature. Put a number of 1/1 counters on it equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. So it's okay. If I'm like kind of near the end of the game, see, I don't really want to tap it to make it bigger. So this is kind of on the low end of value, but it is a low CMC cost. And worst case scenario, it's just a 2/2 blocker with trample on its lowest end. So we'll see how it goes. But then again, it could end up just being 1 mana if we ever Commander out. Unbound Flourishings. I love Unbound Flourishings. It used to be really expensive. Now it's a little bit cheaper on Mitgo, at least for the non-foil version. I don't even know. I think at the time they only had the foil version, which is why it was so expensive. And I mean by expensive, I mean like a couple bucks. Like actually, I don't exactly remember how. But anyways, so whenever you cast a permanent spell where the mana contains X, you double that value of X. So that's awesome. And then whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell or activate an ability, if it used an X cost, you make a copy of that spell or ability. Now, it doesn't synergize with choose one cards. So there's a card later in the deck where it will make a copy, but it won't let you do anything with the other copy. Because you have to choose one as you cast it, but when it makes a copy, it doesn't let you choose one. It's weird. It might be a bug, I'm not sure. We got Vivian, Champion of the Wilds. You may cast creature spells ability at flash, and we get +1 up to gain you gain, until your next turn, up to 1 target creature gains Vigilance Reach. Good to go. And then look at the top 3 cards of your library. Exile 1 face down and put the rest in the binary library. For as long as it remains exiled, you may look at that card. You may cast it if it is a creature spell. So, pretty good value there. Land of War Tribe. You know, this guy's about to throw down a sweet mixtape. Surprising enough. Land of War Elves. There was one of the games I played with this, which is why I was like, okay, this deck's good to go, was Forest, Land of War Elves. Next turn, Forest, Land of War Tribe, and then like after that, it just popped off after that. It was pretty good. All right, so we got extra planar lens, which is why I'm rocking those snow-covered forests. Because if you don't know, basically you throw the lens down, you put a snow-covered forest on there, and unless your opponents are running snow-covered forest, which most of the time, unless they're running a monocolored deck, they're not running snowlands. or unless they're running some sort of weird snow tribal, so you don't see it as often, but it does come up every once in a while. That means that they can, I can tap my snow-covered lands for 2 lands, or for 2 mana. We got the Bestiary, and yeah, you know, little scry and some card draw, good to go there. Ursa's Incubator, because these Hydra spells are beefy. All right, then we got a Guardian Project. Now, Guardian Project's awesome in Commander. It's really awesome because you only ever have 1 copy of the same card. Like normally, you only have 1 copy of the same non-token card. So, yeah, it's pretty good. Then we got Karametra's Acolyte for some more ramp. Skyshire Acclaim for some more ramp. Verdant Bloom for more ramp. Domesticated Hydra, just a Hydra. It's pretty good. It's got Monstrous. It's not bad. I wish it wasn't a 3/3 for 4, but it, you know, it can get trampled if it's Hydras, if it monstrous or monstrous size. Then we got a Pulcherus. This is basically a board wipe because when it goes monstrous, it deals X damage divided as you choose among any number of target creatures, and then each of those creatures deals damage equal to its power to Pulcherus. So basically, the idea is that you want to drop him down there as a 5/5, monstrous him out for as much damage as you can do, and then he'll just clear the board out. So he's one of the few board wipes in green, and he's Hydra, so it's good to go. We got the disc for another board wipe, just because green doesn't have a lot of board wipes, and I was like, I should at least have two good board wipes in the deck. So we got Nyx Bloom because we're using a devotion style deck. You know, we're all green. Hunter's Prowess because Gargos, if a creature becomes the target of a spell, so that's even our own spells. So we're gonna make Gargos fight somebody, and then hopefully he'll gain trample, he'll survive the fight, and then we'll be able to throw him in and draw some cards. So Hunter's Prowess pretty good. Return the Wild Speaker, also big card draw right here. You know, if we got a 7/7, we're gonna draw 7 cards, so good to go. Hero's Bane. Enters battlefield 4+1/+1 counters on here, and then you may pay 4 to put X cards. You basically just double its power. That's pretty good. Iron Scale Hydra. One of the newer ones. I love this art. If a creature would deal combat damage to the Hydra, prevent that damage, and put a +1/+1 counter on the Hydra. So it's pretty much free value. It's pretty good. Then we got Colonian Hydra Trample when it enters battlefield with 4 counters, and whenever it attacks, double the number of counters on it, on each creature you control. So it is really awesome. That's why it's mythic. It's basically, it looks like it's got 6 dragons. Like some Hydras look like they're snakes, some Hydras look like different, but this guy looks like he's got massive dragons for heads. We got Nissa, I always call Nissa, who shakes the world. Whenever you tap a forest for mana, add an additional green, and then +1, put 3 +1/+1 counters on up to 1 target non-creature land you control. Untap it, it becomes a 0 elemental creature with vigilance and has haste. And it's still a land. And then if I ever get to the -8, you get an emblem where lands you control have indestructible. Search a library for any number of forest cards, put them on battlefield tabbed, then shuffle your library. So basically, if I can get Nissa, who shakes the world, I don't think I'm ever going to get her to our -8, but who knows? It would be awesome. And we got Overwhelming Stampede. This is hopefully a board finisher. Until end of turn, creature you control gain trample and +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. I haven't used this card yet, but it is straight value. Phyrexian Hydra, it's got Infect. If damage would be dealt to it, prevent that damage and put a -1/-1 counter on it for each 1 damage prevent this way. So it could end up dying really quickly, but it still deals damage. So like, let's say you attack somebody and they block, it's still going to do 7 -1/-1 counters to them. And then they're going to hit it back, and it's going to end up doing -1. It's going to prevent the damage, but it's going to make it weaker, so it theoretically could die as well. Then we got Vivian Reed. So this is a different one of the reads. This one's pretty good. Basically, you can look at the top 4 cards of your library and reveal a creature or land card and put them in your hand, or you can nuke an artifact or enchantment for some removal or a creature with flying. And then we get that emblem. Mostly, let's say it's like a 5 mana removal spell, but it's got some pretty it's got possibilities. I do like this Vivian. We got Honored Hydra. If I was going to remove something from the deck right now, there isn't anything in the deck that I really had decided whether I want to get rid of. There's about 2 cards that I might want to swap out for other cards, but Honored Hydra would be one of the cards, and we'll get to the other card when I get to it. But There are about 2 cards in this deck that I wouldn't have a big problem swapping out, but there's nothing really wrong with Iron Hydra. It's just, yeah. I mean, it's a 6/6 for 6, and it's got Embalm, and it's a big Hydra, so it's good to go. All right, so we got Whip Tongue Hydra. Reach, whenever enters the battlefield, destroy all creatures with flying. So, yeah, you know why I put this in the deck. Put a 1/1 counter on it for each creature destroyed this way. So if you're playing against flying, 6 mana, it's basically a board wipe. It's a board wipe on a creature. Now we got Bane of Progress. Now this is an honorary Hydra. It's a 2/2 for 6. But when it enters the battlefield, destroy all artifacts and enchantments and put a 1/1 counter on Bane of Progress for each permanent destroyed this way. Bane of Progress, definitely, it's, you know, mono green doesn't have a lot of really good board wipes, but this is one of those where there's a lot of artifacts and a lot of enchantments in Commander. Bane of Progress, it's good to go. Hydra Brood Monster, this is hopefully the closer, this is hopefully a finisher. Hopefully I can make a bunch of Hydras with it. I haven't played it yet. Now, Hydra Omnivore, as I'd like to call him, is awesome. If I have Rogue's Passage on and I swing in for 8, smack in, do 8 damage to my opponent, do 8 damage to all my other opponents. Yeah, and then beefing them up, make them slightly bigger with like Hydrous Growth or maybe Hunter's Prowess. Like, yeah, Hydra Omnivore is pretty sick. And then we go into Nissan's Wild Ravager. So far, I haven't had anybody pay the tributes. I mean, no, I haven't had anybody not pay tributes. Actually, no. Okay, so tribute would be where they give me 6 counters, make 12 up. I've always had it the other way, where he ends up having to fight someone for 6. So, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Oran Reef Hydra. It's got landfall whenever a land enters the battlefield and control. Put a 1/1 counter on it. If the land is a forest, put 2. We got a lot of forests, so we're gonna more than likely get him beefier and bigger all we want. Ulvenwald Hydra is power and toughness equal number of lands you control. And then when it enters the battlefield, you search. So it basically goes and gets me a land as well. So it's a little bit expensive. Cade Sun to get some of that ramp to get us with more and more lands. Zendikar's Resurgence is both ramp and card draw. And with 32 creatures, we're bound to at least draw 1 card. Nyx Bloom Ancients. Oh man. If you tap a permanent for mana, it produces 3 times as much mana. This is definitely a closer. This is like, you know, when we're near the ends. It's also possible we can rebuild off this, but it being 7 mana to begin with is pretty high. But you know, sometimes you get to a board stall state where you're just like, I just need more land or more mana. Then we got Colonian Hydra. This spell costs 1 less green to cast for each spell you control. It's basically 8 mana, 8/8. But if I have a bunch of creatures, it's a lot cheaper. All right, let's get into X-Spells. We have 11 X-Spells, and then we're done. So we got Feral Hydra. Basically, we can add 1/1 counters for 3 mana, and yeah. And then any player can activate the ability if they want to. I haven't ran into a situation where another player would want to. Hungering Hydra. Enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters. Can't be blocked by more than 1 creature, and whenever it's dealt damage, you put that many 1/1 counters on it, as long as it survives. So, could be good. It'd be great to Heroic Intervention to make it indestructible, so it just gets bigger the next turn. Mistcutter Hydra, it's protection from blue, it's got haste, and you know, it doesn't have anything super special after that, but it's still pretty good. I think it also has 6 legs. At least it looks like it has 6 legs. Protean Hydra. Apologies. Protean Hydra is battlefield with X 1/1 counters. If damage would be dealt to Protean Hydra, prevent that damage and remove that many 1/1 counters. Whenever a 1/1 counter is removed from it, put 2 1/1 counters on at the beginning of the next end step. So if it survives whatever damage was going to be dealt to it, we're good to go. Genesis Hydra, whenever you cast this spell, reveal the top X card to your library. You may put a non-land permanent card with converted mana cost of X or less from among them on the battlefield, then shuffle the rest into your library. Enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters. So, one thing to be aware with Genesis Hydra is, luckily it goes a permanent, so we can get ourselves a Planeswalker if we need to. So that's good. Or anything else. But you don't really want to use it on an X costing Hydra, so just be aware of that. Hydra, or Hooded Hydra, enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. When it dies, create that many snake tokens. You can morph it, and if you morph it, you put 5 1/1 counters on it. So you can morph it for 5, and then turn it up. I think you unmorph for 3. I think it is. I'm not 100%. No, never mind. I think you lay it down for 3, and then morph it up for 5, and you can get 5 instead of the X spell. But we want to go for the X spell. So this is one of the other cards I thought about removing from the deck. If I had to, I would probably remove this card. This is the one. This is the one card where if you use the copy ability from it's not Vivian. Unbound Flourishings. Unbound Flourishings. You can't. If you copy the spell for some weird reason, at least in mid-go, it kind of errors out and it won't let you pick the other option. It won't even let you pick any of the options. It basically casts a spell and it says choose one, but it doesn't give you the option to choose one when it copies it. So just I don't know if that's just like inherently part of the system. I don't know if that's just a normal Magic rule or if that's just mid-go being weird, but it wouldn't let me choose any of the options. It just cast a spell, but it didn't resolve. So it's not a bad spell. It's really good for getting land and really good for taking on some flyers if you're playing against flyers. That's what I used it for. Pretty good. We got Primordial Hydrants, the classic from M12. Basically, you can throw it down. You can make it a 3-mana 1/1, and then it becomes a 2/2, then a 4/4, then an 8/8, and once it becomes a 10/10, it has trample. So this guy's awesome. I think I don't know if he's still in my Naya deck, but he was in my Naya deck when I first built him. Steel Bane Hydra. It's a turtle Hydra. Enters battlefield with X counters. You remove a counter and destroy an artifact or enchantment. So it's basically removal on a he's eating a freaking sword. That's what it looks like to me, or a spear. So it's awesome. Vastwood Hydra. Basically, does what's on the tin. If it dies, you just move those counters around. So good to go. Then we got Lifeblood Hydra for our last one. Trample. Enters battlefield with X1/1 counters. And if it dies, you gain life and draw cards equal to its power. So, yep. Anyways, that is our Gargos Vicious Watcher deck. It's more tribal than value as far as the commander is concerned, but the fact that the Hydra spells are so cheap makes this kind of a fun creature deck of just being like, hey, I'm going to get these Hydras out. So I hope you enjoy the gameplay. I hope the gameplay that we're going to play is good. I'm probably just going to film one game, and depending on however it goes, I don't want to film a whole bunch of games and try to find the best one for you guys. So I'm just going to try to get into a game, and we'll just see how this turns out. So, anyways, see you over there. Have a good one. And if there's any suggestions you have for like maybe taking 1 or 2 cards out of this deck and maybe swapping it just a little bit, I don't want to change the core of the deck, but just 1 or 2 cards might be good. Maybe for that Naya's Intervention and that Honored Hydra. Thought about maybe putting Garuk back in the deck because I did have him in here. Or maybe put like Hunter's Insight or something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, put those suggestions down below and have a good one. Later.